This is the 2016 Raleigh Misceo IE. At first glance, it looks very similar to the 2015. The color has not changed. It comes in 4 sizes. I'm looking at the medium. It says 18 inches here, but I did some measurements and kind of conversions. It's like 15, 17, 19, and 21, so great range of sizes to work with. You can see that this is a very active and efficient electric bike. There's no suspension or anything, and it's got a carbon fiber fork. It's going to help to dampen some of the vibration, but it still rides pretty rigid. And that means that there's good power transfer as you're pedaling, and there's not a lot of frame flex. I suppose if you put on a rear rack, you'd get a little bit more of that. You can see that there's some bosses here down towards the dropouts. There's even a threaded eyelet for adding a rear fender, front fender if you wanted. So you could totally turn this into a commuter. And I love that for 2016, they've added bottle cage bosses right there on the seat tube. That was something that I felt like was missing last year. The other big change is that the motor, you can see it's just horizontal. Last year it was tipped up at kind of a 45-degree angle, and the tubing for this rear section of the bike was more oval or circular, and now it's more box. So that's going to give it rigidity, and they've also extended the frame a little bit. So I feel like they've tried to dial it in and make it more suited to an electric drive system. The Misceo is just a traditional pedal power bicycle from Raleigh, and maybe before they were like, hey, we'll just mount the motor to it, and then after a while with some experience it was like, oh, we can just tweak a few things and make it perform a little bit better. And it does perform really well. It's smooth, it's efficient. The weight, you'll notice the battery and the motor are both pretty low and center. The motor weighs about 7 pounds or so, I'm told, from the Shimano folks. The battery is only 5.8, so it's one of the lighter battery packs, not quite as light as the rear rack mounted battery that Shimano Steps offers, but this one doesn't require a rack. So, I think that's a win. And again, squeezing in those bottle cage bosses and stuff, pretty good setup. 160 millimeter hydraulic disc brakes front and rear. No quick release on the rear, but there is one on the front, and that's kind of nice. Just if you're trying to squeeze this into your car, take the wheel off and then turn the handlebars, and it's going to be a lot easier to do. Feel like the geometry on this is a little bit more active and aggressive, but it's not like super far forward. There are no drop bars here. You can see that there's just a slight rise, but it's almost a flat bar. The grips are just standard round rubber. They are not ergonomic. The saddle also a little bit more firm. They've changed the the seat post diameter. I think it was 27.2 and now it's 30.9. So, I guess that gives it a little bit more strength as well. If you wanted to replace that and add like a body geometry or what is it? I think they have the cobble gobbler from Specialized, but there's also the body float, right? And it's got some little springs and stuff, and that's going to take out some of that jar that you experience going at higher speeds, maybe commuting in the city and urban environments where there's some cracks. Not everyone has that complaint. It's just something I think about because with an electric bike, I tend to ride more frequently and further distances. And certainly I would want to put a rack on and get the weight off my back. I wouldn't want to wear a backpack or something because that's just going to be pounding into you. The tire size on these is 700 by 40C, so a little bit wider, 1 5/8 inch diameter. But the tire pressure rating is higher. I have that back at the site along with some more details. You can see that they're hybrid. Oh, and I want to call out that there's strut supports bosses on the front fork as well, so that when you get fenders, they won't be rattling around a whole lot, and you can get ones that are tucked pretty close so you don't have any toe clipping going on while you're pedaling. I don't think these are the actual pedals. I think they're more like aluminum plus plastic with rubber grips on top. And one thing people seem to call out when they look at this bike is like, oh, look, it's a derailleur. This is actually just like a tensioner, a chain tensioner, so it keeps from rattling around a lot. This uses an internally geared Shimano Alfine 8-speed hub. Okay, so that is not the motor. The motor's right there in the middle of the bike. This has 8 speeds and it can be shifted at standstill, and it actually uses electronic shifting with the Di2 system. So that's what's going on in this little extra plastic, circular thing here. 18 tooth sprocket right there. So there is, it's a chain and everything. It comes from there. I think that's 38 tooth. And then, that goes right into the Alfine hub. Electronic shifting is really cool. And on this bike, it's especially cool because you don't need an extra battery to make it happen. It's running off that main battery pack. And because it's all part of the same, Shimano step system and then DI2, it actually incorporates shift sensing, so there's less mashing. The motor kind of cuts out temporarily when gears are being shifted, and that's just going to save some wear on that internally geared hub. And there's even auto shifting, and that's something that people who have the 2015 version of this bike, it's just a software update, so they can have their firmware updated. This uses the CAN bus system, so your dealer can plug it in and they can go through and say, is the display working, the button pad, the battery, the motor, is everything good? Okay, cool, let's upgrade and get you auto shifting. It's a pretty neat setup, and this is the only Shimano Steps powered electric bike I've seen with the electronic shifting that does have that shift sensing improvement. All the other ones, they just use sprockets and derailleurs, and then it's like clunk, clunk, clunk when you're shifting. It's a pretty smooth motor though, frankly. It detects the wheel speed. Back here you can see there's a traditional magnet and a little sensor right there. Your cadence as you're pedaling and your pedal torque. It uses a combination of those inputs to tell the motor when to activate and how powerfully to do so. So it's a 250 watt nominal, 500 watt peak, 50 Newton meter motor. That's pretty good. It's efficient, again, a little bit lighter weight. I think the Bosch motor that I see on a lot of other electric bikes is 8.8 pounds. So for this to be like 7.05, that's almost a couple pounds that you shave off right there. It's powered by this 36 volt, 11.6 amp hour lithium ion battery pack. It's pretty nice. It's locking. It is removable, and it kind of tips out to the side like this. Whoop. Very nice. And that's the plug interface right there. And you'll notice there are no other plug interfaces on this thing. You have to take it off in order to charge it. And be careful when you do so. Don't drop it. It kind of slides out the side. It'd be easier to accidentally like whoop and have it fall out. Then it gets cracked and scratched up and stuff. So that's a gripe for me. I'd prefer to just leave it on the bike and plug an extension cord in and connect the charger directly, but that's not available yet. So here's the Shimano Steps charging unit. It's 1.7 pounds, pretty light, very compact, 3.1 amps, so it sends a little bit more energy than some of the other 2 amp chargers I see a lot. And here's that big plug, just a little, it's big, but yeah, whatever. You can unplug the other side if you want, and it just makes it more compact. So let's bring this back to the bike. You just kind of set it there in the bottom and then slide it, and you hear the click, so it's very satisfying. You do not have to keep the keys in, but this is a demo bike and they don't want them to get lost, so that's why they're there. You may hear them rattling a little bit in the ride test, and I apologize for that. So yeah, we've talked a little bit about the drive system, the battery. This comes with a 2-year comprehensive warranty and lifetime on the frame, so that's really good. It is only available in this one color and in high step. Again, it's just a more active, more, I think, aggressive, sort of a sporty bike. That's a good way to describe it. So yeah, price point $26.99, a few $100s cheaper than the 2015 version, which is nice to see the prices coming down a little bit. So to activate this bike, the way it works is you have to press this rubber power button on the battery, and you do get to see these LEDs light up and give you some feedback about how full it is. Then you come up to this display panel. It does sort of swivel. It's not real easy to do on the fly. You might have to do it back at home, and there are these little alligator teeth kind of thing going on. If you don't over tighten it, you can swivel a little bit easier, and I hope there's not a lot of glare for you. It's monochrome, backlit. It's removable. Check that out. So you could take this and the battery off, reduce the weight of the bike, just make sure no one's tampering with it at the racks. And since it's electronic shifting, I mean, even the derailleur is, there's no derailleur, right? It's just that tensioner, and everything that's kind of sensitive is tucked away. I love that the electronic shifter doesn't have like a wire coming out or an extra little plastic box that I see on some of the other ones. It's all right there inside the frame area. So if this tips or something, yeah, maybe the tensioner gets banged up. In fact, this one has, but who cares? That's not as precision oriented as like an actual derailleur that's changing horizontal locations on the frame. So love that. Okay, so we're back up here at the display panel. You can see there's speed in miles per hour, battery icon with 5 little ticks. We've only got 3 ticks right now, so it's not completely full. And then it shows which gear we're in. So right now we're in gear 2. And that can be changed over here just by arrowing up, and you can hear back here. So that's awesome. You can hear it changing gears, and we aren't moving, and it's not a problem. So that's one of the huge benefits. In fact, this system is designed to automatically shift back down to a lower gear anytime you slow down and stop, just to make it easier to start again, so you don't have to worry about, oh, I'm in a high gear, I have to stand up and really work hard to get going again. I think that's just very cool. And you can even set what the starting gear is. So I'm going to get into that. The right side on this bike is set up to do gear shifting, okay? And you can change between automatic shifting and manual shifting by pressing the black box. So right now we're in manual, and we hit it again, and it goes to automatic. The left button pad is set up to control all of the electronic stuff. So like assist level, right now it's off. If I arrow up, we go to eco, which is 50% feedback, normal, 100% feedback, and high, 200% feedback. And so let's pretend I'm putting out 20 amps as I'm pedaling. 200% like back from the motor would be 40 amps for a total of 60 amps going into the system. It's kind of a simple way to think about it. If you want to get into all the menus and stuff that I talked about, you hold down on the up and down arrows on that left button pad, and now we're in the settings. By the way, you can swap these. They're the same thing, and so if you're right-handed or left-handed, or you just have a preference, the default, again, is electronic stuff on the left, gear shifting on the right, and I think that's because a lot of times you have trigger shifters on the right, so people are more familiar with that, at least in the United States. So we can clear our trip distance if we want, set our clock, start mode, that's what I was talking about. Right now it's at 2, and that's the default, but we could go up and go to 5. So that would be like, I'm pedaling, I'm up in the 8th gear, and then when I stop, it brings me back down to 5. But again, most of the time we want to take it all the way down to 2, and you can also turn this off. Okay, then we go to backlighting. You can turn that on or off if it bothers you at night. Some people, want it to be a little more stealthy. The beep, do you hear this beep? All that beeping that's going on, you can turn that off. I absolutely love that. I wish we could turn this crow off though. It's getting pretty excited about the bike, I guess. Language and auto shifting. Okay, so this is cool. If we go into here, there's a range between 13 and -13. And to me, that's really about cadence. So 13 is saying like, oh, you're gonna have to spin a little bit faster before we automatically shift up. -13 is, almost immediately it's gonna start shifting, like half of a pedal rotation for me. And I don't like that. I actually like to spin very fast because I have sensitive knees, so it's more like boom, 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 and less hard work, like pressure going on. It's more of an aerobic thing for me. I would like to go even higher than their 13 mark. I'm not sure what that is that 13 RPM, or I'm not really sure, but I would like to go higher. I'm always up at 13 or just using manual. It works pretty well. And again, with shift sensing, it's just awesome. I'll show you that in the ride test. So let's get out of here. That's exit. So we've gone through the whole thing. You can see if you're sitting way up here, the display could be a little bit small if you're nearsighted, which I am. But for the most part, it stays nice. I love that it's removable. There's no USB ports or any other sort of fancy electronic accessories going on, but for what it is, it's pretty great. And if you're someone who's thinking about getting an electric bike, but you want one that's pretty light, it's got a good warranty from a company that that you can kind of count on, that's been around for a long time, this could be a nice option. I think that's about it. Let's hop on this thing. I'm gonna take it out for a little ride, just on a bike path here in Simi Valley, California. It's nice, but it's hot, and that's one of the things about having an electric bike. It just takes the edge off. You don't have to like overexert yourself to hit those higher speeds. Again, limited speed at 20 miles per hour. I think this model is a little bit faster than the 2015 as well. Okay, so I'm just gonna start pedaling, and I'm not gonna do anything, and just listen for how it responds. It just shifted, automatically shifted again, and again. You see it's keeping my cadence pretty even. And if I slow down a little bit, I guess I'm coasting, it's not automatic. Oh, there we go. It shifted down as the speed dropped. And if I start pedaling, it shifts up again. So, kind of cool. Now I'm gonna stop and listen. This is so cool. See that? It shifted all the way back down to 2 before I was even stopped. So it's just ready to go again. I can start pedaling. I can just pay attention to the scenery. I don't need to worry about pressing extra buttons. I'm in high mode right now just to demonstrate and have the motor noise be a little bit more pronounced. Now I'm going to show you the actual sprocket spinning. There's a little bit of a delay to start and stop, but not bad. This does listen to my cadence, which is nice. I don't have to push really hard for it to help, but of course, the harder I push, the more energy I'm going to get back. We hit our 20 miles per hour there, and that's why the motor stopped. Bringing us back down to level 2. Very cool. And you might have heard the motor cut out occasionally, and that's when it was going to do its shifting. And I'm a fan of the hydraulic brakes. I think these are like the M445 from Shimano. Just only takes a couple fingers to activate those. Just very nice. I'm back inside and just turn the lights off, get a little bit of shadows going on. Wanted to show you the backlighting here and let you know that you can override automatic shifting if you want and just arrow up or arrow down, but pretty quickly it sort of catches up and automatically shifts again. So just remember that black button to shift between manual and automatic. And when you're done riding, you just come down here and press the power button and the whole thing shuts off. I'm a fan of the upgrades they've made. The Shimano system's growing on me, and the 2016 Raleigh Misceo IE is definitely my favorite so far. Love that it comes in a range of different sizes and that the price has dropped. So for the full write-up on this and some of the other Raleigh electric bikes, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com. Ride safe.